I was traveling last week and I just needed a really simple way to spin up a Tailscale exit node in the cloud. Now, traditionally, I've done this using full-fat Ubuntu, which totally works, but it comes with a full package manager, needs ongoing maintenance, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I've been meaning to check out Flatcar Linux for some time now. Now, Flatcar is a bit different. It's one of these newfangled immutable Linux distros. So instead of logging in and configuring packages by hand or using Ansible or something like that, you have to define everything, and I do mean everything, up front. And it does this using something called an ignition file. In fact, I covered Fedora ucore a few months ago on the channel, which basically does the same thing. And Flatcar Linux is related to that whole CoreOS ecosystem, by the way. Now, the ignition file is basically a config file that tells the machine what its purpose in life is, how to build itself, what packages it needs, what SSH uses. And in this case, what I've done is I've configured it with Tailscale. So I built a repo that generates that ignition config file right in your browser. This means you can spin up a Tailscale exit node in just a few seconds in the cloud. Now, I'll put a link to this tool in the description down below. And I want to make one thing clear off the bat. We have no affiliation with any of these three providers that I've included in this list. I just know that they happen to be some of the cheaper options on the internet from personal experience, hence why I included them. And Vultr is the default. Now, you've maybe never heard of Vultr, but these guys, they do exactly what DigitalOcean and Hetzner do. But the nice thing about Vultr is that they actually support Flatcar Linux out of the box. So what we want to do is make sure you've got a Vultr account or DigitalOcean or Hetzner. Go to this website and generate yourself a Tailscale Auth key. And you can click on this button right here, which will take you to the Tailscale admin console. Get logged in. I'm assuming you've already got a Tailnet at this point. If you haven't, it's free. You get 6 users for free and unlimited personal devices these days. So once you're inside here, you can go to the settings option right here and go on keys. And I'm going to generate an auth key. I'm not going to make it reusable, but you absolutely could if you wanted to. I'm just going to generate this key right here. Once I have that, I will put the key onto my clipboard and then paste it into this box right here. As you can see, it's now ready to copy the ignition file. I'm not going to set up a subnet router or anything like that, although you absolutely could here by checking this box. And an exit node, if you're not familiar, by the way, I should probably have led with this, but an exit node basically turns this remote virtual server into a exit node. Of course it turns it into an exit node. What I mean is all the traffic from my laptop will traverse through the Tailscale network across your Tailnet and exit onto the internet from this VPS in the cloud as if you were sat in that data center wherever you happen to provision the image. Okay, so once we've done all of that stuff, basically we just copied it in an auth key, we can click on copy ignition. I'm going to go over to Vultr and click on deploy server under their compute instances option right here. Now the cheapest option that I found was one of these shared CPUs in Atlanta, and you can get this down as low as $2.50. But unfortunately, not every data center in Vultr's fleet has Flatcar as a base image. So we can save a bit of money because this isn't going to need any kind of CPU performance at all by clicking shared CPU. Go to Chicago, choose the cheapest one. We really honestly could get away with a lot less specs than this, but that's the cheapest they have. I'm going to disable backups again just to save myself $1 a month because there is no important data on this system whatsoever. And then click on configure software. Now under operating system, this is where we want to select Flatcar Linux. I'll just select stable. I don't think it really matters too much. We're not going to worry about anything else here because all the rest of the system is configured in the ignition file. But this is where we want to paste in our ignition data that's on the clipboard. So from this page here, we click on copy ignition. I already did that, I know, but just reminding you. And then paste that into the ignition file right here. And you can see that we're basically configuring everything. We're configuring Docker, the Tailscale service. We're injecting our auth key. We're configuring local time, etc., etc. And we're just going to click on deploy. And that is it. That's all the configuration you have to do. You literally just have to copy in an auth key. Now, if I go to my admin console at tailscale.com, I want to just sit here and wait for, did I even rename this thing? I didn't rename it. I should have renamed it Exit to Chicago or something, but the default name, I suppose, of Tailnet server will have to do. So if I go back to here, I can just type in Tailnet, and it'll take a minute or two to spin up on Vultr. Now, whilst this machine is still provisioning, we can actually just jump into the instance itself and have a look at the console of the machine in the Vultr web interface by clicking on View the Console right here. And we'll see the console of the machine right here. So we can see that the machine's now booted. So in theory, if we go over to our Tailnet, we will now see Tailnet server is right here. Now, the last thing we have to do is approve the exit node onto our Tailnet. And if I go into Edit Root Settings and check the box that says Use as Exit Node, ta-da! This is now an exit node on my Tailnet. So if I go up to my local Mac client right up here and look under my exit nodes list, I should indeed see Tailnet server. And so instead of seeing my local IP address come out on the public internet, I see the IP address of the Vultr server right here, 149.28. 149.28. So there you go. So that's what an exit node is and does. But you might have noticed there was that extra step of configuring or allowing the exit node onto my Tailnet. Now we can, if we want, there's a little option down the bottom here of a Tailnet policy helper. So I could do a tailandscales@gmail.com and then paste in this auto approver's ACL snippet into my Tailscale ACL file by going to my admin console and then access controls here. And then under, well, as we scroll down a little, under, let's put it in here. So by adding this block into your ACL file, you can now approve new exit nodes willy-nilly, as long as the auth key is linked to this user right here. So let's just show that in action, because this is really easy to do. We'll go to settings again, generate another key, generate an auth key, and then put that on the clipboard, and we'll go back to the generator, and this time we'll call this one exit Chicago, and then copy the ignition file. And this time let's do something a little different. Let's go to DigitalOcean, because there is a slightly different process for DO. So let's create a droplet, and again we'll just make this the most basic, cheap, simple one that we can. By going to custom images, we're going to add a custom image. And this is because DigitalOcean don't ship Flatcar as a pre-baked image. So you'll notice if you select DO from the list, and kind of the same deal with Hetzner too, you'll get this URL here of the custom image location. And we can import this into a data center of our choosing. Richmond. That's really close to me. Since when did they add Richmond? That's cool. I'm just going to select other and call it Flatcar stable. And then where do I put the URL? Import via URL. There we go. And this is going to allow me to import the image from Flatcar's own production servers to DigitalOcean so that I can now use this to create my own droplets from. Now you might find you have to wait 3 or 4 minutes for the image to upload properly into the DO console. It just takes a while, I guess. But once it's done so, you can now go through to create droplet. I'm going to do this in NYC1, not Richmond, because the New York data center actually has more options for cheaper droplets, whereas Richmond seems more focused on performance and more modern NVMe hardware, which I don't need for this purpose. So I'm in the DO console, I'm going to click on custom images and select my Flatcar production DigitalOcean image. I'm going to go to basic, regular, and get down to the $4 a month VPS. I just love that. Always loved how DO has such a cheap thing. And then I'm going to go back to my server builder here and copy the ignition file to my clipboard. And then under the startup scripts free option, this is where we paste our ignition snippet right here. And hopefully, all being well, we can now create the droplet, although it wants me to add an SSH key. Sure, fine, whatever. I'm not going to even SSH into this thing ever, but okay. Now it's going to create the droplet, which will take, I don't know, 30 seconds or so. And then once it's done, hopefully, it will just add this custom Tailscale exit node now running on DigitalOcean to my Tailnet automatically, but also automatically approve it to the Tailnet as well, because we have that now in our ACL snippets. And so if we load up the web console, let's check and see this thing is booted. Let's launch the recovery console. Yeah, okay, that looks good, promising. It's booted, it's got an IP address. So machines on my tailnet now. What did I call this one? Exit something. I called it Exit Chicago, didn't I? Yeah, there we go. So Exit Chicago is there. And look, it automatically approved itself to my tailnet. So if I go to exit nodes, I can now see Exit Chicago as an option. So I should see that now I get my public IPv4 address from this instance, 157.230, when I go to IP chicken, 157.230. So there you go. That's basically the gist of this tool. It lets you spin up a Tailscale exit node across multiple cloud providers in just a few clicks. I'd love to see what those of you who like to write Terraform can do, because I'm absolutely certain some of the CI/CD kind of GitOps stuff that we've done on the channel lately would tie in super nice to this kind of automatic Flatcar Linux based world. So if that's you and you want to do more of that, come find me on the Tailscale Discord at discord.gg/Tailscale. I'd love to see you over there. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. I've been Alex from Tailscale.